All right, and we are live. How is everybody this fine Saturday morning? It is August 27th. This is Larsen Live. How are we doing? We opened up with, as Rick alluded to, Joe Harnell's disco version of The Lonely Man, the Incredible Hulk 1977 theme. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, I was just idly listening to some music the other day, and the fact that this exists greatly amused me. But hey, it's great that Joe Fixit, the Gray Hulk, has his own theme song. First of all, a little bit of news about the channel. I, the other day, reached 5,000 subscribers. Hooray. Brr, 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 brr. And I was promised that my subscriber count would skyrocket, and that did not happen. So, once again, I was promised great things, and I was disappointed. Ah, well, c'est la vie. Secondly, I really wish I could do, videos every week, go back to the 2 videos a week structure, but, lesson plans get in the way. I will make videos when I can, but don't expect too many videos until I at least finish my lesson plans for the year. I've done the first unit. There's 4 units in the school year total, so I'm done with that at least. So, yeah, I'm going to be streaming. Deal with it. That's why I did the streams in the first place, so I could provide you with some kind of content every week. All right, let's get to the news. We got news. We got items of cultural and pop cultural significance, as well as news. The big news this week, well, there's a couple big items. The main big news that I saw was that President Biden, Mumbly Joe, is forgiving student loans. More specifically, also got some comments here. Seabunk Messiah says, "Hey dudes, he's doing well. I'm glad." But yes, Mumbly Joe Biden is forgiving student loans. More specifically, he announces a plan that his administration will be canceling $10,000 worth of student loan debt for Americans earning anything less than $125,000 a year, and it's also going to eliminate an additional $10,000 of debt for Pell Grant recipients. Now, I made the stupid decision of paying off my loans like a responsible person. I will admit my parents did save up for me, and I also worked jobs in high school, so I paid off my loans like a responsible person. Apparently, that was really dumb because responsibility is grossly irresponsible in this day and age. So I have to ask President Biden, is there a way that I can get some of that $10,000? I mean, it would be defrauding the government, but let's be honest, doesn't everybody kind of do that, really? I mean, I always knew that the student debt issue would be the next big financial crisis, and I think we're already into that. But yeah, colleges do need to be kind of taken down a peg, I think. College educations used to be relatively affordable for everybody, and now they are not. But again, there is something to be said about a system that punishes those who are responsible and rewards those who are not. And yes, it's all greatly, greatly disappointing there. Also in the news, okay, the FBI is raiding Mar-a-Lago. The U.S. Justice Department is releasing a redacted affidavit in the Trump search. Okay, it's a bunch of blocked out stuff, so who knows what was found there, really. But of course, Trump is bad, apparently, and we got to raid him. See if I can find any more information on this David thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The FBI could really just raid pretty much everybody in the U.S. government right now and probably find something worth noting. I don't know why they aren't. Then again, as Razorfist has pointed out, the FBI and really the intelligence apparatus on the whole should be cut down severely, if not, removed entirely. Let's check some comments. We have none. That's wonderful. Also on Twitter trending right now is PEMDAS. I'm so annoyed with this. This comes up every so often. And everyone's like, oh, well, look, you got to do the multiplication first. It's what's in the acronym, hurdy-dur. People, like, why does this country struggle so much with, like, middle school level mathematics? I just don't get it. M and D are grouped together. You do whatever comes left to right first. It's not multiplication automatically before division. And then same with addition and subtraction. This is not difficult, people. I don't understand why people don't understand basic mathematics. All right, speaking of the school system and how terrible it is, Washington, D.C. is banning students from school if they're not vaccinated. What's greatly humorous is that this is going to affect roughly 40% of the black community in Washington, D.C. Apparently, the Afro American community doesn't like to get vaccinated for whatever reason. Oh, you know what's great? That feel when you're so progressive that you accidentally oppress a minority. Which is, yeah, that's bang up job, DC. Bang up job. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the DC Council are going to force all public school students ages 12 and up to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, personally, I got vaccinated thrice and I refuse to get any more jabs. Like, I am just, if it comes, it comes. I'm strong enough to fight the coof. Okay, we got some comments here. Genghis Tom says 2 plus 2 equals inequality. Yes, it does. Yep, C Punk Messiah says it brings back memories of math class. Math was by far my worst subject, more specifically algebra. Yeah, I wasn't that great at math myself, but I mean, I at least understood PEMDAS. I mean, it's not that difficult of a concept, but apparently people don't get it. But yeah, speaking of academic standards declining, 40% of black students are going to be banned from the DC public schools, as I've been talking about. I mean, then again, are you really going to be learning that much in a public school system? I say that as a public school teacher myself. Yeah, you're really not, to be quite honest. I mean, every study I've seen shows that homeschooled kids clean the clocks of public school kids in basically everything. But, I don't know, what do I know? I'm a public school teacher, so obviously I don't know that much. Also in the news, Raytheon has embodied everything that sucks about modern government, where they said, and I quote, this is on Twitter, few people realize that the RIM-7 Sea Sparrow is the most environmentally friendly anti-aircraft missile produced anywhere. We are proud of our commitment to a better future for all the children of the world. Do good things. Be greener with Raytheon. Environmentally friendly anti-aircraft missiles. This is literally that meme where it's like the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans drop bombs and the Democrats drop bombs, but it's from a plane with like a rainbow nose painting and a Black Lives Matter sticker on the tail fin. And yes, I realize it's a bit hypocritical of me because I own Raytheon stock. Because, hey, I'm going to exploit the military-industrial complex too, damn it. But yeah, but then again, I'm starting to think about it, and maybe Raytheon's anti-aircraft missiles are environmentally friendly. I mean, if you're killing people, you're removing their carbon footprint from the world, so, that's a few less polluters. So, in a manner of speaking, Raytheon is being environmentally friendly. Yeah, also, I'm not sure whose idea it was to make the military into like social workers with rifles, but that needs to stop. You need to go to war less and let them do what they got to do when you do send them into that unpleasantness. Once again, when the United States military had the Department of War, we never lost a war. We haven't won shit since we changed it to the Department of Defense. Pussy language makes pussy people. Okay, let's see. Okay, Biff Slankovich says that items taken by Trump appears to contain the name of human sources, operas overseas, highly sensitive CIA information. It's espionage, pure and simple. Also talking about his teaching experience, he taught in California paddling was allowed. It works and it's not inhuman. Boo-hoo. Messing around in school, that's a paddling. Excuse me one second, I got a telemarketer on the phone. I'm going to cancel that. It's yeah, it's actually kind of funny about teaching. I was on a date once with a young lady, and I was telling her about my new career in schooling, and she was talking about how in her school, she she apparently went to school in like some bumfuck school town in Texas, and apparently what happened was a lot of teachers, like once the kids became adults, like they would date students. So we'd have like these 18-year-old girls dating these students. I'm sorry, dating the teachers. They'd be going to like a yon football game and what have you. And she was like, "You better not do that when you're a teacher." And I said, "Look, I'm not. That's not my thing. Like, I'm not. Like I am not interested in teenage girls. Like, I mean, I think I've discussed this before, but like, I just don't find like underage girls attractive. Like, I don't understand how anybody could find them attractive. Like, they're all gangly and coltish. COLT, coltish. Like, I don't find them attractive at all. So there's no risk of that happening. I'm no ephebophile. Now, however, there is a slight risk, emphasis on slight, that one day I might just walk up to a student and just punch him in the mouth. There's a slight risk of that happening for Larsen, the teacher. But, I emphasize slight risk. That's not likely to happen. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just, they don't have skin in the game. They don't suffer consequences of their actions. That's why people act like dickheads nowadays. Joseph L. Corey says, green bombs with real flames from hell. That's the Raytheon environmental standard. Wink. C Punk Messiah says they should have kept calling PTSD shell shock. Yes, they should have. Rick says the Raytheon thing reminds him of the Gungor album cover for Beautiful Things, where weapons and skulls form to the pattern of flowers. I never even heard of Gungor. I'll have to check that out. I'm going to look that up right now. That's yes, it's very nice. And I'm not gonna lie, when you wrote Gungor, I read it as Gorgar for a second, which is that pinball machine. It was the first pinball machine that could talk to people. Okay. C-Punk Messiah refers to the George Carlin routine about pussy language. I agree. And Detective 5 says, go out there and be the best damn teacher you can be. Well, yeah, like I've been working on my lesson plans for weeks now. Like I have the first unit done, which is like the first quarter of the classroom year. So I like to think I'm a pretty good teacher. And hopefully I won't have to paddle anybody. Because if you make fun of my sandals, that's a paddling. Complaining about paddling, you better believe that's a paddling. I could probably put up a picture of that, a meme, if you will, in my classroom at the very least. But yeah, screw Raytheon. Screw the whole military-industrial complex. And speaking of military-related nonsense, Pennsylvania senatorial or is it gubernatorial candidate Doug Mastriano, some gubernatorial, sorry. Yes, he's getting some flack nowadays because while he was at the Army War College in 2014, he's wearing a Confederate uniform. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty stupid, Doug. You're representing Pennsylvania, the state where 33,000 men died fighting the Confederacy. I don't understand why you wouldn't honor your Pennsylvanian heritage. And before anybody says he's not from Pennsylvania, which is true, you're from New Jersey, Doug. Thousands of New Jerseyans died fighting the Confederacy, too. Four of my statesmen won the Medal of Honor doing so. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to reiterate in great detail my opinion of the Confederacy again, but to go into brief discussions of that, I mean, I have nothing against the South. I have friends from there. I do like the culture. And I respect the valor and chivalry of the Confederacy, but that doesn't change the fact that their cause was stupid and it should not be celebrated. You, Mr. Mastriano, you're an idiot. I don't know why you would do this. See what the Twitters has to say. And yeah, by the way, he will be representing Gettysburg, just FYI. And then, of course, the Twitter stream is full of all the people like frothing at the mouth at anything remotely related to, the lost cause, which is a bit of an overreach, I would say so myself. It's like, oh, we should have killed everybody. Like, we should have, burned everything down. That's an old movie Bob belief, which I don't agree with. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't really say too much about the Pennsylvania election because I'm not from Pennsylvania. But yeah, it's a pretty dumb move, in my opinion. But yes, American politics always continues to be an absolute cluster frick. All right, let's see what else is in the news. This ties into the Raytheon thing. Got some environmentalist news. Apparently, wind turbines can be recycled into gummy bears, say the scientists. Yeah, I want you to. I want you to just think about that. They're going to take wind turbines, fiberglass windmill blades, and they're going to turn them into gummy bears. Researchers designed composite resin for blades to be broken down to make new products, including candies. Well, if there wasn't a big enough reason to not eat candy in general, well, now here's an even bigger reason because you're going to be eating windmills. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia would make jokes about eating like wolf hair and credit cards and things, but those were intended to be jokes about how filthy and terrible Frank and Charlie's living space was. Like, I don't. Why would you eat plastic? And this isn't even the most like absurd food related thing we're going to talk about in this stream, but we'll get to that in a little while. But yeah, let's read this crap fest. Researchers at Michigan State University have made a composite resin for the blades by combining glass fibers with a plant-derived polymer. Plant-derived polymers were also used for the bodies of Trabants and Ladas and other Soviet automobiles, and a synthetic one. Once the blades have reached the end of their lifespan, the materials can be broken down and recycled to make new products, including turbine blades and chewy candies. Wind power is one of the dominant forms of renewable energy. Just don't ask the, flocks of migratory birds that get shredded by the windmills. Okay. I shouldn't have to say this, but I don't want to eat windmills. Nobody should be eating windmills. I mean, what was wrong with just, gelatin and like horse hooves and stuff that you're making gummy bears into or making gummy bears out of? Apparently that wasn't good enough. Got to eat the windmills instead. Hey, Wagey, guess what? You're going to eat the windmills. You're going to eat the bugs. You're going to live in a pod. You're not going to have real sex. You're going to own nothing, and you're going to be happy. This whole environmental thing is just a crap fest. And I'm sure there's no malevolent reason why Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum literally dresses like some kind of comic book supervillain. You ever seen his outfits? He wears these like weird kimonos with like quilted padded shoulder like pads and like capes and stuff. He's bald. These people literally want to be comic book supervillains, like ruling over the peasantry. I keep saying it and nobody's listening. But yeah, speaking of wind turbines, I saw something the other day that was a little bit better, putting wind turbines like in between highway overpasses so that the cars driving by will turn them. You can generate a little electricity. I mean, it's kind of circumlocucious in that you're using gasoline energy indirectly to power your wind energy, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. I mean, I guess you're evening things out a little bit. Certainly better than making windmills and then turning them into gummy bears. C-Punk Messiah says, my brain just did a spit take when you said this. Yeah, I mean, eating windmills is something that I had to kind of question that myself. But yeah, I mean, plant-based plastic polymers are literally what they use in East Germany to make Trabant automobiles. I mean, if you look it up, there's literally like videos of pigs eating like old bodies of like Trabants because it was basically just cellulose plastic. But hey, if it was good enough for communist East Germany, it's good enough to bring here too. That's why we won the Cold War, so we could just become the Soviet Union, right? Woo! Eat the windmills, Wagey. Okay. Now we're going to get to some pop culture news. Something on something on Twitter was trending the other day. Migos. Who is Migos? He's apparently some sort of rapper. And being that he's a modern rapper, I'm going to assume that he sucks. He's a mumbling, tattooed catamite who bends over for the powers that be. But yeah, Migos. I'm going to listen to some of his music right now. Yep, he's a mumbling goof. I mean, I don't even know exactly how long it's been since like I officially checked out of pop culture, but like I don't know who any of these people are now. Am I officially an old man now? I don't know who Migos is or like Offset or all these mumbling goofs. I'm like when I see Migos, I'm like, oh, H.P. Lovecraft is trending. The Whisper in the Darkness is trending. The fungi from Yugoth. That's awesome. But no, it wasn't the cool Migo. It was some tattooed weirdo Migo. Speaking of, you never saw the Whisper in Darkness movie. I would check it out. The H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society does these movies that are, they're adaptations of his stories, but they're done in the style that movies would have been done in had they been made at the time that the stories were written. So the first movie was The Call of Cthulhu. The story was written in 1925, so it was done, as a silent movie with, stop motion special effects and the sort of things that you would have had in 1925. Same video cameras, same style of acting, same special effects. It was pretty good. Then Whisper in Darkness, that came out in the 30s, so that was a sound movie. It was very much like a sort of universal horror movie, which again I thought was pretty good. I mean, certainly better than this rapper guy. But yeah, speaking of H.P. Lovecraft, there's this new video game on Steam called Write and Fight. I am there, and so is H.P. Lovecraft. Apparently, it's a fighting game in which you play as various, great literary writers. It's like you got H.P. Lovecraft is there, Mark Twain is there, Ernest Hemingway, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Alexandre Dumas, Shakespeare is there, Balzac is there. It's worth pointing out that the webcomic 8 Easy Bits, which long since discontinued is one of my favorites, literally did this joke like 10 years ago, probably like 15 years ago. It was like Marvel, it was the American literary canon versus Capcom. So it was like Emily Dickinson and Tom Joad and Frederick Douglass, and they're fighting like, Ryu and Ken and Vega and all the Street Fighter characters. So, it's glad to see that somebody took that idea and ran with it. Although the fact that James Fenimore Cooper isn't in the game dual wielding tomahawks, that's a goddamn disgrace. I mean, maybe he is. I mean, I'm gonna check the the trailer right now to see if Fenimore Cooper is in the game. Let's see. Who we got? We got Mazzoni. We got I don't know who that is. Okay, we got Mark Twain, Alexandre Dumas, Eric Maria Remarque, Lovecraft. Got some Chinese writers like got Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Man, you got Shakespeare. Got Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, because I was never a huge fan of The Little Prince, but whatever. You got James Joyce. Yeah, Hemingway. Yeah, it's pretty good. But no, James Fenimore Cooper, though. That's a disappointment. Okay, let's check the comment. Comments, I should say. Rick says the windmill powered by passing gas cars is the same logic as sin taxes. The establishment will come to depend on it. I've always said that you should put, you could do solar power and wind power as like a supplementary thing, but not like a main thing. Like I don't see what's wrong with like putting windmills on top of houses or putting solar panels on top of houses. Each individual house would benefit from it. It would shave off some of the electric bills, certainly. But no, we got to fill up like mountain sides with solar panels and fill fields with windmills that kill the birds. Ninja Master asks, "What's up?" Just doing the stream, buddy. C Punk Messiah says, "I think capitalism in the U.S. is what communism was to the Soviet Union. Unquestioning loyalty to an economic system is recipe for disaster." But then again, you could argue that the U.S. doesn't really even have pure capitalism anymore. I mean, when the country's literally bailing out like big banks and hedge funds, I mean, isn't that basically just corporate socialism essentially? I mean, and then of course there's the bullshit jobs argument that David Graeber posted, where essentially we've recreated feudalism in this country. Like we're not a purely capitalist society anymore. I mean, that's my opinion at least. Yeah. How much is Right and Fight? I'm going to go check that out right now. Rick, referring to Right and Fight, says Gabriel Garcia Marquez better have an Arakataka attack. I mean, I don't know if the game has like fatalities or not, but he should have a fatality called 100 Years of Solitude. I mean, it seems like common sense to me. Let's see. Okay, Right and Fight is how much is this? Doesn't seem to be getting very good reviews. That's not good. Okay, so here's a review. So, guy was very excited. It was a good idea. I was expecting it to be functional. When you start the game, you select 1P versus AI. The game crashes every time. It's unplayable garbage. So apparently it needs testing. So it'll probably be patched because nobody has to like make finished games anymore. It's all about just got to patch it. You just patch your shit now instead of making a finished game. Because who cares about doing things on time? You can just half-ass it later on. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually read any of Marquez, so I probably should at some point. And yeah, there needs to be more characters in this game, certainly. Like I would have put Robert Howard in, Fenimore Cooper. It turns out Balzac is not in the game. You should put Balzac in. You should get Pushkin. Yeah, there needs a lot more. A lot more guys. You got some chicks in there too. I mean, I can't be the one who wants to see a Lady Murasaki versus fuck, I'm drawing a blank here. Louisa May Alcott. Yeah, get them in a death match. Anyway, let's move on to some more cultural news. A gay pride event in Charlotte, North Carolina has children doing pole dancing, and this was not going over well. First of all, why is there Pride stuff going on in September? I thought June was Pride month, but like it's almost September and now we're still doing this. State enforced homosexuality. And again, I like to specify that I don't have anything against gay pride or even pole dancing or anything like that. Waggle your hairy buttocks all about in front of adults. That's fine. But kids should not be doing this. And, this is, when they call the American Empire the gay, GAE, Global American Empire, it's pretty fitting, to be quite honest. I mean, at least the woman that this child is pole dancing with appears to be an actual woman, so that's good, at least, I suppose. I mean, it's mildly better than if it was some hairy dude. I don't know, I just have to ask, like, let's take it away from a gay pride perspective. Let's put this in a purely heterosexual perspective. Anybody in this chat who's a father, would you be proud to see your daughter, working the pole? No, you wouldn't. I mean, Chris Rock had that routine where he's like, my only goal in life as a father of a young girl is to keep her off that pole. And you know what? He was absolutely right. But apparently we've forgotten that. We've forgotten any standards of basic decency in this country, which is just wonderful. C-Punk Messiah says, I kind of want to become a drag queen just to be the dads out of the ones letting children participate. I'm not going to lie. I've toyed with the idea of like maybe just doing like a candid camera kind of thing of just, one day going in drag, like me, with my voice and like with my build, looking like as unladylike as possible. I'm just be like, yeah, I dare to say some shit, punk. Yeah, me. Might be kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with drag. Just don't do it for the children. I mean, do kids even enjoy this? I mean, I've worked in museums and stuff where they had like, pride things, and the kids were not into it from what I saw. Just saying. Okay, got some science news. People are asking, are octopi too intelligent to eat? They say that they're obviously very intelligent animals, and protesters are insisting that they are not suitable suppers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, octopi, aren't they comparable to like, your average small mammal like a rat or something in terms of intelligence, which is, very intelligent by invertebrate standards. But yeah, people are saying like, oh, they're too smart, we can't eat them. Yeah, a lot of controversy was arising because there's a quote unquote humane octopus farm, which is going to open up in Spain. Yeah, thousands of people coming from the UK, even the United States. Spain is basically the Florida of the United Kingdom. Yeah, people are protesting. I mean, I'm certainly no stranger to eating squid and octopi. And, as far as I'm aware, they're not any smarter than like a cow, and we eat cows. So, yeah, let's eat those octopi. As long as it's humane slaughter. And let's do it within reason, because I do believe octopi have pretty slow breeding rates. Let's do it humanely, let's do it within reason, and yeah, eat them octopi. Pointy Throat says, just pop in while I have a Wi-Fi signal. You're getting great view numbers on my big mouth here. And it's not the most I ever got, but yeah, it's doing decently. Thank you, Pony Throat. Okay, C-Punk Messiah says toxic liberalism is pretty fucking bad. Yes, it is. I don't know, like, I'm not really... when it comes to like eating animals and things, like I'm not really adverse to eating anything. I mean, even the bugs, like within limits, like and as an option for the pores, yes, I'm down with eating bugs. But yeah, in general, I'm not really against eating anything except for, I guess this is bias as a primate myself, but yeah, eating primates, not something I'm into, and not just for, the monkeypox reasons. It's just, it's an uncanny valley thing. It looks way too much like me. I couldn't eat like a monkey or anything like that. It, yeah, just I couldn't eat it myself. I know sometimes I gotta eat that bush meat out of desperation, but it's not my thing. All right, now we're getting to some pop culture news. The big news in pop culture is that Amazon says that the Rings of Power show is going to determine whether Amazon Prime can survive as a streaming platform. They did, after all, spend $1 billion on it. So we have to do our duty. We got to make sure that Rings of Power fails. So don't hate watch it. Like, I've never understood the concept of hate watching in general. It's like, hey, I'm going to show you. I'm going to watch your show. And I'm going to get money for it. Hey. Yes, insiders say if this is not the highest performing thing we've ever done, it's a failure. And yeah, they're already at the stage of like trying to guilt trip us to watch the show. So yeah, it's not looking good. Rings of Power. And it's a shame because like, I do like some shows on Amazon Prime, and by some shows I mean literally The Boys and nothing else. The insider says there's no doubt Amazon Prime has had success. They haven't had a culturally defining show. There's been no massive breakout. Everyone's talking about it. Well, I would argue that The Boys is the closest thing they've had, like a big cultural breakout show. I guarantee you that The Boys is going to be more successful than Amazon Prime. I'm sorry, Rings of Power. Sorry, because I mean, people have been talking about Rings of Power for like almost a year now. Literally, not a single positive thing has been said about it by anybody that wasn't getting paid by Amazon. We got like the weird Dorito costumes. You have badass girl boss Galadriel. You have uh Sauron, or is it Melchior? He basically looks like late '90s Eminem. It looks like absolute garbage. I've said you could have literally streamed somebody playing that Sega Genesis Rings of Power game, which is like a bootleg Lord of the Rings. You'd get more positive feedback than this show. But yeah, I will laugh my ass off when the show fails. I mean, it's coming out in a week, and they're desperately trying to like get people to be on board with this show. And again, I'd like to reiterate: why do they have to shoehorn like random people of color in where they don't belong? You could have easily done a Tolkien show with people of color if you had the slightest bit of creativity. You could have made like Far Harad the show, but no, that would require effort. There's lots of sword and soul and like Afro fantasy you could have done. I'm still clamoring for an Imaro show, which is basically African Conan the Barbarian. Nobody's doing that. Yeah, speaking of fantasy shows, yeah, they got that new House of the Dragon show on it's like the prequel to Game of Thrones. I haven't watched it. Has anybody watched that? I mean, I know there was like some kind of controversy because like some guy was again a random shoehorn black guy into a literal European based fantasy thing, a fantasy based thing of inbred royals, might I add. But yeah, I haven't seen House of the Dragon. I might check it out. We shall see. Steampunk Messiah says the show Bizarre Foods got me used to the idea of eating bugs. I haven't seen that. I mean, I I only watch the Food Network for the women with their tits hanging out. My darling Nigella Lawson is no longer on the channel, which is unfortunate. You got Giada De Laurentiis, you got that drunken wine on. It's all good. Steampunk Messiah says, if you don't watch our show, you're like the SS. I mean, that is basically the strategy they're going for, right? It's like, and when the show inevitably fails, they're going to blame, those man baby incel chuds. They didn't watch the show. Like, how dare they not watch the show? Yeah, because, people who you very clearly hate are going to watch your show. Nothing says getting people on board like showing them naked contempt, because that works for the Democrats, right? Mitchell Valentino says, wait till they discover there's a black guy in the Iliad. They'll have to remake Troy. Ah, the old Ethiops. Rick says, I'm drawing a fan art for the Lord of the Rings where Sauron gets beaten up by Tom Bombadil. Well, hey, Gandalf did say that if, the Fellowship were to fail and Sauron were to win, Tom Bombadil would probably be the last man standing. But yeah, I've never understood people who complain about the lack of Tom Bombadil in the movies. Like, did you really want to see, Sean Astin and Elijah Wood frolicking naked in the woods? Is that really what you want in your movies? Okay, speaking of television shows, going to Netflix now. Netflix cancels the Resident Evil show. I have no idea how they keep fucking up Resident Evil as a media franchise. It was literally a bunch of Japanese computer game geeks were like, hey, let's take inspiration from American horror movies. Just make something like that. Like the first Resident Evil game, Zombies in a Mansion, Night of the Living Dead crossed with like House on Haunted Hill. Boom, there. Resident Evil 2 and 3, literally Dawn of the Dead. Boom, there. Resident Evil 4, like just any, hicksploitation, like Hills Have Eyes, like, angry hillbillies movie crossed with like Tombs of the Blind Dead. Or I don't know, I literally don't know any other Spanish horror movies. Yeah, this should not be that difficult, and yet they keep messing it up. But yeah, Netflix, maybe it shouldn't have, like, again, race swapped a bunch of characters people like, and put in references to, like, Zootopia pornography in your show. And I'm not joking. There's literally a line of dialogue where some woman talks about how she was looking at Zootopia porn. Resident Evil. Bong. Okay, New Jersey continues its trend of terrible amusement parks by saying that Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, 5 people were hospitalized after the malfunction aboard the El Toro roller coaster and self-reported back pain. The ride remains closed for inspection. Action Park may be dead. Wait, no, actually, I think it came back technically, but it's like has a different name now. Yeah, Action Park may be dead in spirit, or maybe dead in physical terms, but the spirit of crippling people through amusement parks lives on in good old New Jersey. I mean, that's been probably 2 decades since I went on like a roller coaster. But yeah, maybe I shouldn't build 19-story tall wooden roller coasters, guys. I mean, New Jersey has a pretty hard, like, temperate climate. Frigid cold in the winter, boiling hot in the summer, and humidity up the ass. MGG, let's make a 190-foot tall wooden roller coaster. And yeah, I mean, hate to say it, but New Jersey amusement parks are kind of crap in general. They tend to be urban daycare centers, if you get what I mean. Okay, let's see. Rick says George Romero directed the ad for Resident Evil 2. I did not know that. And Detective 5 says, once again, when it comes to most things, Japan takes what we did and we improve on it. Rick specifies the video game. Yeah, I got that. I mean, I don't think he did the movie. I am proud to say I've never seen any of the Resident Evil movies. My brother did, so we were playing Resident Evil 4 back in the day. There was that laser hallway you gotta like flip and jump through, and he's like, oh, it's like the movie. Yeah, news to me. Okay, Rick says a Mulva Hill last from the grave. Yes, that's the action park guy, for those of you not aware. Yep, he's in the last laugh. As long as I cripple everybody with my amusement park, it's happy. And Detective 5 says Action Park is technically still around. That's what I was alluding to. It is now safer. Now it's Mountain Creek Water Park. Yeah, sadly, I was only 5 years old when Action Park died, so I never got to experience the wonder of the crippling amusement park. That's if I had if I had a time machine, that's one of the things I would do. All right, speaking of television even further, Alexa Nicholas, another Nickelodeon child actress who is on some show which I've never heard of. She is protesting outside company headquarters, claiming unsafe and predatory environments. The pendulum is coming closer and closer to cutting Dan Schneider's neck. Her signs say things like Nickelodeon did not protect me, eat predators, and Sickelodeon. Yes, there was an unsafe working environment. Hey, let's see. Sorry, I'm a little distracted here, but yes, that's it's been a topic of discussion a lot ever since Jeanette McCurdy, another child actress, released a memoir alleging abuse from the higher ups. Yeah, there's a reason why back in the day, a lot of times, like, children would be played by adults in movies. I really think we ought to bring that back. Like, children really ought not to be getting involved in Hollywood because this seems to happen a lot. These child actors and actresses get molested constantly by the adults. Yeah, I'm just saying, there's a lot of pictures of Dan Schneider being awfully handsy with these teenage actresses. I suppose we could ask Ariana Grande about that since she was one. The Jeanette McCurdy memoir seems to allude to such things happening. Biff Slankovich says if you had a time machine, you should go back to Palisades Amusement Park. Yeah, this is a bit of a segue, but something I do find very interesting historically is I do find like the history of like amusement parks and circuses and vaudeville and burlesque to be very fascinating. So yeah, there's a lot of things I would do if I could go back in time, and that's crazy niche even for history standards. But yeah, yes, that's also a good idea. Thank you, Biff. But yeah, let's hope that Mr. Schneider gets outed for his pedophilia, alleged pedophilia. Yeah, I don't want to slander anybody. Okay, let's see. Now we got some more news about everybody's favorite topic, racially based hysteria. Apparently, Cottagecore is racist. Those of you who are not aware, Cottagecore is this whole, stylistic, aesthetic movement of, living on a small farm out in the country. You dress in like gingham and you post little pictures of farms and, homesteading and things like that. And I myself, as I've discussed, I plan on buying some farmland myself by the end of the school year, once this stupid certification thing gets settled. But But unfortunately, allegedly, the cottagecore movement has also attracted white supremacists who bought into a myth of the good rural farmer versus the evil urban elite. And yeah, fair enough. There is, a grain of truth to that. I mean, the Nazis did sort of idolize, the rural, patrimony and things like that. But lurking behind all the pretty pictures, there's an undercurrent of genocidal bigotry running through the most prominent cottagecore accounts on Twitter. Again, I have to see some citations for this. Let's see. And yeah, as we all know, a lot of the extremely online far right, loves their, white trad wives in the wheat fields. But again, I think it's kind of ridiculous. Like people say like that, farmers markets are inherently racist, homesteading is inherently racist. I think that's just kind of ridiculous myself. It's a farm. It's a small family farm. There's nothing racist about it, okay? There's nothing racist about putting on a dress and gadding about in the wheat field. I think people are a bit hysterical about this sort of thing. I mean, is this really what we have to worry about? Like, girls on Tumblr posting pictures of like cottages and farms. We have to worry if that's like a gateway to white supremacy. I think it's a bit ridiculous. Okay. So we got some talk about, what I mentioned about the history of like, circuses and vaudeville and such. Bisankovic mentions old Spanky. It's very funny. Circus history. I love the story where P.T. Barnum paid $500 for a hat. Yes, and actually, you remember during Asian American, Pacific Islander History Month, I gave that whole lecture about Shang and Aang, the Siamese twins, which is a very fascinating story. So, I like that myself. So, yeah, I actually do have a book on the history of burlesque in the United States, actually, which I have not read. I should get to it at some point. But, I just don't have much time to read anymore since, school is getting in the way of that. And then there's going to be grading, so I've got a lot of crap to deal with that. Mitchell Valentino agrees with me with the history of entertainment. Coney Island, Ziegfeld Follies, Carnivals, Burlesque, it's fascinating to me. Yes, I agree. And, Biff Slankovich mentioned the Little Rascals. Yes, some amusing shenanigans himself. Yeah, the history of how Hal Roach actually came up with that whole concept is pretty funny in of itself. He had an audition with a child actress who's like really made up and stiff, and he was like, "God, this sucks." And he looks outside his window and he sees a bunch of kids like literally playing around, like hitting each other with sticks, and he was like, "I can make a movie based on this." So thank you, children hitting each other with sticks. You inspired a very long-running series of short films. So I read about that. When I was at the museum, I was doing tickets. I had long periods of doing nothing, and I was reading Wikipedia articles, and one thing led to another. Yeah, I mean, some child actors and actresses make it out okay, but like a lot of them don't. And yeah, like speaking of Spanky McFarlane, he actually turned out better than most. He actually made pretty good money as an adult, just not in entertainment. But yeah, a lot of kids like don't turn out well in a lot of child actors don't really turn out well, and that's sad. Yeah, speaking of racially based hysteria, give me a second. I'm going to get some water. But yes, speaking of racially based hysteria and celebrity news, and speaking of child actresses, Drew Barrymore is on TikTok apparently, and she made a short TikTok video where she was frolicking about in the rain, and apparently this is racist for some reason. Again, if this is the biggest problem you have in your life, you should be thankful they don't have any more serious problems. First of all, Drew, take off those glasses. You look like somebody's grandma. Secondly, apparently, her doing this is racist because it was a trend for black people to frolic about in the rain, apparently, on TikTok. And she's allegedly culturally appropriating. Yeah, I'm pretty sure black people didn't invent the concept. You ever hear of singing in the rain? Or again, I'm sure it dates far beyond that. Shinseki Evan, referring to Little Rascal, says Alfalfa was shot in an argument over a dog. Yes, yes, he was. Carl Switzer was indeed killed at the age of 32. He became a dog trainer and breeder in his adulthood, and yeah, there was some unpleasantness, and yes, he was murdered over a dog. It's not great. Yeah, and then I think Tuffy, yeah, he was killed at the Kasserine Pass in World War II, which thanks Lloyd Fredendahl, you got Tuffy killed, Donald something or other. Yeah, it's again, child actors, they don't do too well a lot of times. And yes, speaking of Drew Barrymore, she was an alcoholic by the age of like 5. So again, child actress, not good. But yeah, black people, I hate to inform you, but you didn't invent the concept of frolicking about in the rain. Pretty sure Gene Kelly did. In fact, I'm pretty sure it goes back much farther than that. I'm gonna look this up. Let's see. I'm sure there's some like. Let's see. Pretty sure there's some like. Yeah, like Chesterton did a poem about a guy frolicking about in the rain. That was probably like the 20s. And then let's see. I'm sure there's more examples than that. Let's see. Yeah, the original version of 310 to Yuma has some rain frolicking about at the very end as well. And that was 57. And yeah, this is not a thing that black people started on TikTok. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to give my personal opinion on rain, I like hot rain. Like, if it rains now, like, so if I'm going out running right now and it started to rain, like, that would be great. Like, what I hate is cold rain, like where it's just barely warm enough to not snow and it's raining. Like, that is the absolute worst, in my opinion. I'm not going to frolic in that. Okay, Biff Stankovich says Beretta was a child actor. Yes, Robert Blake was in The Little Rascals, and yeah, there was some unpleasantness that happened with him, as we all know. C Punk Messiah says, it's only a matter of time before learning martial arts is considered cultural appropriation. I mean, it kind of is already in some circles, and if that's fine. Like if you think that if you think that white people can only learn like HEMA, historically European martial arts, like that's okay. Like yeah, I mean I like HEMA. I like the HEMA community. I think more people should learn like single stick and fencing and quarter staff and boxing and wrestling. Yeah, I think there should be more. In general, I'm just very happy when any sort of like traditional martial art kind of gets a revival. Whether it be HEMA, there's a Okichita, which is a Native American fighting style, which is practiced in Canada, the United States, which is pretty cool. There's like in Africa they got that Dombe fighting, which they do, and that Senegalese wrestling, which I like. Yeah, it's like I just think martial arts need to be celebrated more in all countries because all countries have their fighting styles and they ought to be celebrated. Rick says we should show the outraged person the Singing in the Rain car ride where Gene Kelly breakdances. It's like Homer Simpson said, you know, we the people own the celebrities for life, and when you're dead, you're going to be in commercials dancing around with vacuum cleaners. That was, of course, referring to that Fred Astaire commercial with the vacuum cleaner. And yeah, I was not aware of that Gene Kelly car commercial, but yeah, I'm not really in favor of celebrities being exploited in commercials. I find it rather tacky, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, the point of the story is it's not racist that Drew Barrymore was gadding about in the rain. Look, Drew Barrymore was a very nice woman by all accounts who fried her brain with years of drug and alcohol abuse, and I think we should all be nice and leave her alone. Okay, end the story. Let's see. Also in celebrity news, former professional wrestler Disco Inferno, aka Glenn Gilberti, was trending for some reason. Apparently, it's a bit of a trend that Disco makes an ass of himself on Twitter. And for what it's worth, I think he was a decent, undercard, entertainment guy in his prime, but nothing more than that. Okay, other wrestlers were kind of shitting on him for, you weren't like a real star or whatever. Hey, shut up. He was the United States champion, damn it. Oh, look at what just turned up on Twitter. Asian women are still facing subtle forms of hate, and it's time to address it. Let's see what this has to deal with. I wonder what. Okay, let's see. Therein lies the problem with Stop Asian Hate, hashtag. Has a limited definition of what racism towards us looks and feels like on a daily basis. Well, you see, there's a reason why the Stop Asian Hate hashtag suddenly petered out. It's because people noticed who was committing the Asian hate, and that it went against the narrative. C-Punk Messiah says, I think more martial arts styles would benefit from doing full contact sparring and emphasis on strength training. Yes. Yes, they should. 100%. Okay, let's see. So let's read this stupid article. On a recent date with a non-Asian man, I mentioned I wanted to read more about Asian women's struggles, especially in America. He wondered out loud what those struggles were. To him, Asian women don't struggle. Data shows are favored by men. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It's the same old Asian sex bullshit again and again and again. Okay, let's see. Blah, blah. Okay, it's, sex, etc. Model minority myth, which is bad, apparently. Okay, it's the same old crap, as always. Just fill in the thing, watch my videos. It never changes. It never ends. Okay, Biff Slankovich says Milton Berle paid $1 million to stay off the other channels. I was not aware of that. Jim Tuner says Mark Zuckerberg announced he does MMA for exercise now. Running as exercise made him think too much. Yeah, it's running. I mean, I do run, but it's not my favorite thing. Like my brother is like a super runner. He's like, "Oh, I get that runner's high." I'm like, "Yeah, that's bullshit." I mean, it's boring to me. I mean, I run like a 5K. That's pretty much the most I can do and like not be utterly bored with it. And as for Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, yeah, it's cool that he does like, martial arts now. I mean, maybe if he tries really hard, he can pass for a human one of these days. And finally, now we come to the weird crap. Remember how I mentioned there's going to be more food horror? Yep, here we go. Oscar Meyer is now making hot dog popsicles because meat seltzer wasn't enough, apparently. It's not a hot dog, it's a cold dog. A hot dog flavored frozen popsicle. Oscar Mayer is launching cold dogs, a frozen popsicle that tastes like a hot dog with refreshing and smoky umami notes. Even has some mustard on it. So yeah, they're doing test runs now to see if it goes over well. I don't I don't know why anybody would. Who wants meat flavored desserts? Like, hello, Oscar Meyer, please stop. Like, does Oscar Mayer just have like a stock of old hot dogs they need to get rid of, and like meat juice they have to get rid of? Like, just stop. Like, this is embarrassing. Can this country stop making garbage food, please? Like, this is why people are fat. Ugh. Somebody needs to just. Who's running Oscar Mayer nowadays? Okay, Jim Tooner says that this is a marketing stunt for publicity's sake. They get media coverage for being stupid. I mean, I would like to assume that people are not going to buy into this, but what if they do? What if we see like meat popsicles on every shelf? You know, I don't have much faith in the American public, but please don't buy these meat popsicles. Please. Thank you. C-Punk Messiah says this is why the U.S. is the laughing stock of the world. Yeah, yeah. I see so many people commenting on, you know, videos and stuff. They're saying like, I'm from this, such and such country. Like I used to, admire America from afar, and now it's like, what the fuck is going on in America? I see that so often, and yeah, I say that myself. I live in America, and I'm like, what the hell's going on with this country? And finally, got some cartoon news or video game related news. Justin Roiland is doing a video game apparently. It's what is it called? It's like Hell or High Water or something like that. High on Life. That's it. So I'm seeing this little video game, little footage. There's a gun and it talks. It's like a first person shooter. He shoots a guy and then the gun starts talking. And it's talking that typical Justin Roiland way where he, hey, look, guys, I'm talking loud and obnoxiously and I'm stuttering and stumbling over my words. I'm so funny. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Justin Roiland sucks. Justin Roiland has always sucked. He's been doing the same old like loud, like Aspergery, like stuttering and stumbling for the past 10 years. It was funny once. It's not funny anymore. You can't do the same joke over and over again and have it be funny every time. Jokes have a very short shelf life. And I never really was impressed with his writing beyond that. Like I was never really a huge fan of Rick and Morty. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand Rick and Morty because from what I gather, you have to have a really high IQ to get Rick and Morty. But I heard him once on a. He was in an episode of Gravity Falls like 10 years ago, and it was kind of funny. And he hasn't really done anything I've been of interest in. I've been interested in ever since. Steve Philbrick says martial arts cultural appropriation. I have no problem with Ipo and the crew boxing. So here's the thing, like, they say, like, diversity is our strength, diversity is our strength, but then it's like, oh, you can't culturally appropriate. Well, what do you think's going to happen when you shoehorn a bunch of people together? There's going to be cultural mixing and matching. So either like it or don't like it. And speaking of, cultural appropriation and mixing and matching, Justin Roiland is responsible for that, Szechuan McDonald's sauce debacle that happened a few years ago. So I guess we can criticize him for that too. Anyway, that does it for my prepared remarks. If anybody's got things to say it now. Rick says, not Rick Sanchez. So Roiland's making a video game of the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone episode, The Blue Scorpion. I have not seen a single episode of the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone episode. I'm not a particularly huge fan of Peele's horror work. Get Out was okay, but Us was not great, and he's got that new movie out which wasn't great. That remake of Candyman sucked. Yeah, so from what I'm looking at, it's like the gun is like some kind of bug thing, and it shoots like green jizz or whatever. And it talks. He's like, well, oh my God, you shot a kid. I can't. I guess we're not getting that E rating. The whole stuttering and stumbling thing I find incredibly annoying. It's the same thing every time. Okay, we got a lot of comments here. C-Punk Messiah says, sex is more important than understanding Rick and Morty. Yes. I guess so. C-Punk Messiah says, you have any crosshairs for Kung Fail or Fail Sons? Yes, I do. I have like ideas on the back burner, but just I can't do them right now because I got to do lesson plans because I don't want to get fired from this job. So, the good thing is, worst comes to worst, like after the first year of school, I'll basically just be got a subscriber. Dr. Time PMD. Good. But yeah, like I was saying, worst comes to worst. Once the first year is done, I'll just have to do the same lesson plans every year so I can just, I can really work on my videos at that point because I won't have to make new lesson plans. So that's like the worst case scenario. It's going to be like until June or so that I won't be able to make videos again. But hopefully I'll be done with the lesson plans before then so I can make those videos earlier. Jim Tuner says Rick and Morty is full of boring lectures and bad jokes. I get it. It's just not funny. Yeah, I've never seen a single episode of Rick and Morty. I mean, to be honest, the whole Szechuan sauce thing kind of turned me off. Jim Tuner also says teaching gets easier after the first year. So I've heard. Rick says Roiland is overrated. I was reluctant to watch Lower Decks because it looked like Rick and Morty. I mean, I've heard that Lower Decks kind of sucks. In fact, I've heard that pretty much all the new Star Trek shows that are on TV now kind of suck the big one. So yeah, I'm not into that. Rick says he's typing while walking the dog. That's quite all right, sir. Okay, let's get our last comments in now. Okay, Jim Tuner says Lower Decks was better after the first 2 episodes. They ditched the political stuff. Well, I'm glad. I mean, I've heard that like Star Trek Picard in particular, like just humiliates Patrick Stewart like every episode, and like totally emasculates him. C-Punk Messiah says Fail Sons has helped me gain perspective on my life and motivate me to improve myself. Well, I'm glad. And yeah, I would like to do videos again, but just, I'm a little busy at the moment. Biff Slankovich says, from his teaching experience, it's the administrative stuff. Remember the line between student and teacher? Remain firm. They all contribute to being a master teacher. Paddling might also help. Well, the thing is, sir, I live in New Jersey, and I don't think paddling is legal here. Hey, I give you all a minute or so to say your last pieces. Okay, let's see. Jim Tuner says Star Trek Picard is horrific. It's a show about failure, and they brought back Wesley for an episode. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, some mythos can be like being about failure is not necessarily a bad thing. Like from what I've gathered, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is like the story is inherently about like failure and kind of making amends for it. So, and that's great. So I've heard. I haven't played it, but yeah, I mean, when you're doing it specifically to kick like the original show in the dick, it's not great. It's about love for the source material rather than contempt for it. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. So, for Larsen Halleck, I'm Larsen Halleck. You all have a good day.